What's going on, guys? Welcome to a special edition episode of Your Cool Media. So 2 days ago, KTM announced their full 2016 SX lineup. And at first glance, it was pretty much exactly what I expected. The factory edition updates getting rolled out across the whole line, but unfortunately, upon closer inspection, things are not as they seem. And if you've been following this at all, you probably know most of what I'm going to talk about, but there are some things that I will maybe explain and get down to the bottom of. So anyway, the 450 SXF is basically a factory edition 2015 or 2015 and a half factory edition, whatever you want to call it. The motor is, way lighter. The whole bike is extremely light, and it's 101.9 kilograms, which converts to 224.65 pounds, which is insanely light. That's dry weight without fuel. Well, it's not dry weight. It's with oils and radiator fluid and everything, just without fuel. So, that is light for a 450. It's the lightest 450 on the market, and that's including electric start, which is insane. A big part of the weight loss is lithium-ion battery, way lighter motor, just lighter components all around. I think even the plastic is lighter, which is pretty crazy. So anyway, that's great. That's good. 350 gets the same updates. It's significantly lighter. I think it's like 7 pounds lighter than before. 250 SXF, same thing, same as the factory edition 250F, the bike that Muscan was racing, basically. So that's all well and good. Then we go to the two strokes, and both the 125 and the 150 received the new updates, along with brand new engines that were 4.4 pounds lighter, which is insane for a motor that small. Anyway, that's, again, great. Then we get to the 250 SX, and it's literally the exact same as the 2015, minus the orange frame. That's one thing I didn't say, is they got rid of the orange frames for 2016, which is a bummer. I guess maybe they're wanting the factory editions to differentiate more from the stock bikes, or not the stock bikes, but you know what I mean. So that's one thing. That's not really that doesn't affect performance, so who really cares? But this bike being the exact same as the 2015 and being the only full-size bike that did not get a update is pretty disappointing. Now, I read that it was a budget constraint, which I don't know. I don't work for KTM, so I don't know. But it could have been that maybe the bike just wasn't ready. I don't know. So that's one negative. The other big, not necessarily negative, but question mark is, so I'm on the United States website, okay? These forks are the 4CS forks. Now it says they're updated settings from the 2015 model 4CS forks, but if you have a bike with 4CS forks and you've had them worked on or anything, you know that generally most suspension companies have the consensus that the 4CS fork is somewhat of a disaster. So that's not, I ride for Factory Connection, and I've always done a great job until I got these 4CS forks and got them revalved, and I got them back, and they were insanely soft and just really weird. They bottom out extremely easily, and then they top out in the air, which is really strange. So anyway, Factory Connection supposedly has a new setup, and it sounds like almost all the suspension companies kind of have figured out the same thing, that they change some valve and basically convert them into open chamber forks, which I don't really understand what's going on with that, but I'm not a suspension expert. So anyway, they keep the same 4CS forks. Now, if we go to the Europe website, the bike looks exactly the same, but it's not. It has the Air Force fork, as they're calling it. I'll just read the description. The KTM SX models are fitted with a revolutionary new and super lightweight WP fork, a 48mm upside-down air-sprung fork developed by WP Suspension in close collaboration with KTM. It is a split fork with separate functions for each fork leg. The damping functions are on the right side, whereas the air spring is in the left. The left leg features a capsulated air cartridge. The air spring is easy to adjust to any rider weight via a single air valve and a standard fork air pump. Blah, 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 blah. And then at the very bottom we get to weight of 1.4 kilograms, or reduced weight of 1.4 kilograms. So the bottom line is the 450, the Europe, the international version of the 450 is 100.4 kilograms, which, so here's the weight of the United States version, 224.65. Claimed weight, mind you, which doesn't really mean much. So then we go to 100.4, and we see that it's 221.34 pounds. Now, that's 3.5 pounds almost, which is, it's not nothing. I mean, it's significant, but there's also, I don't know if the air fork is better. I don't know if it's worse. I've heard conflicting opinions from suspension people. That air fork is all new as far as I know. I don't know if the air fork that Andrew Short is running is based off of that. But anyway, the interwebs has been set ablaze by people with pitchforks and torches wondering why the United States versions do not have the air fork. Now, I was the same way when I first looked at it, and I'm still confused, but upon a little bit more reflection, I kind of see why this might be happening. So, one thing that's unique to the United States market is the factory edition bikes. So, mainly to appease the AMA production rule, correct? So the production rule basically states that the manufacturers have to have, I believe it's 400 bikes by March 1st, which doesn't make any sense because the Supercross series starts the first weekend of January. So what happens if, say, and I know KTM would never let this happen, but if Dungey started racing the Supercross series and then they got to March 1st and by some disaster they ended up not getting those 400 bikes in the US for sale, do they just disqualify them from all the first 8 races or however many it's been? I don't know. The AMA is kind of a cluster. So that's one thing that's unique to the United States market is the factory edition bikes. So the factory edition bikes did not have air forks. So I guess there could be an angle where they don't want to make the factory edition buyers feel like their bikes are already outdated. Which, fair enough, I understand. But that's kind of the risk of being an early adopter. I mean, sometimes that happens. But another reason that makes a little bit more sense, the AMA weight limit for professional racing is, in the 450 class, 220 pounds for a 4-stroke, okay? Which is what literally everyone is riding, so it doesn't matter. So 220 pounds. Now, the international version, the stock bike, and these weights are without gas. These are dry weights. Not dry weights, but ready to ride minus gas. So, which is the same weight that is listed on the KTM specifications. So the US bike is 101.9, which we already saw was 220, what was it? 224.6, I believe. And then the international version is 221.3. Now, and that's the 450. So if you do the 350, which, I mean, I know not very many people are riding the 350 in professional racing, but it would be kind of strange and not really good for KTM if they had production bikes that were illegal to race. So that's an issue. And they're not allowed to have ballasts attached to the bike to get them through weight inspection, or, period. So, it says right here, ballast attached to motorcycles is not permitted. Because I originally thought, well, that doesn't matter. They could just attach a piece of lead to the bottom of the frame and call it a day, but they can't do that. So that seems to make a little bit more sense. Whereas in Europe, there are no rules as far as weight limits and stuff like that. I don't believe. If there are weight limits in Europe, they're way more like ridiculously light, and because they have no production rule in Europe, so they can do basically whatever they want in Europe. So other than that, the bike's got new rubber mounts for the handlebars, which is something that everyone's been asking for a very long time. This website, dirtbiketest.com, I'd never heard of, but they actually have a pretty good breakdown of the bikes. But yeah, the bikes that now have rubber mounts, which is something that, like I said, been asked for a long time. And the XC bikes have not been... Well, they were on the website. The descriptions were on the website, at least. But they got pulled. Now the bikes aren't even on here. So the descriptions before they got pulled just said, basically, for the 4-strokes, it was just going to be the same as the SX bikes, just with a bigger gas tank and a kickstand and an 18-inch rear wheel. Same transmission, same motor, same upgrades frame-wise and everything. So the XCF 4-strokes will be great bikes, and I assume the 2-strokes will not get any upgrades, since the 252-stroke SX bike is not getting any upgrades. So, kind of a bummer. And there are rumors that the Husqvarna machines will have air forks in the US, which is curious, because if they do that, if I remember correctly, I think the Huskies were slightly heavier, which could be completely different now. I have no idea. So maybe that wouldn't be an issue on the... I don't know. It's all speculation at this point. And I also heard a rumor that the Husky 252-stroke might be all new with all the new updates, which would be that would be mind-blowing. If they do that, then they are basically making Husqvarna the premium brand at that point, which is a very curious move if they go through with it. So that's basically my breakdown of what's going on. The XCWs I don't really care about, but anyway, they're not getting any upgrades. Basically, they're just staying the same. Let's see. The 125 and 150 getting updated is pretty sweet. Like the 150 now is just a big bore 125, and it's a whole new engine, and it just seems like a really badass bike. But I'm just too big for that to be a practical bike for me. Even in endurocross, it's not feasible to race that thing. It's a hell of a lot of fun to ride though, and they are so insanely light now. Even with the 4CS forks, I mean, it's still under 200 pounds. It's like 196.7, I believe. So the European version is going to be like 194 pounds, which is like, damn, son, that is so light. I mean, I rode the 2015 150 for several laps at Village Creek, and it was like riding a bicycle after riding a 450. So anyway, I just wanted to break down some of the stuff. The shock is supposed to be the new generation of monoshock, so I don't know if it's really going to be any better. I'll just go through all of the... Let's see. Let's go back to the 450. Just to make sure we don't miss anything here. The airbox is different. I think the subframe is now like the Huskies, where it's like all kind of a composite and not aluminum subframe. It's like all one big piece, which is kind of dumb. Like, I'm so tired of KTM's having this one-piece rear end thing. That's just so annoying to me, but whatever. Swing arms all new. I mean, all this stuff is just kind of, like I was talking about, the whole bike was revamped just with the goal of saving weight. And new radiators, new swing arm, new foot pegs. Look at how thin those foot pegs are. That kind of scares me. Yeah. Let's see. I already touched on the forks. Triple clamps, different. Are they adjustable? Maybe? I don't know. here we get into all the motor stuff, which half of it I don't understand. The DDS clutch is something that they put in a couple years ago. Let's see. Basically just weight savings. They just put it all on the table for weight savings pretty much. So anyway, I mean, that's pretty much the breakdown of all the bikes. Voice crack, that's nice. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what bikes you guys are most interested in. I myself was leaning towards getting a 252 stroke to replace my aging 2013. I know it's only 2013, so it's not that old, but it's got quite a bit of hours on it. I mean, it's got like 120 hours on it, which doesn't seem like that much. But when you're riding endurocross and stuff like that, your bike just gets destroyed. Like the exhaust mount is broken off on the frame, and just it's kind of getting long in the tooth. But it'll still do fine. I mean, it's not like it's some disaster. It's a great bike. So just let me know what you guys are thinking. That 350 also now has 58 horsepower, which is insane to me. I mean, I think when I had a 350, it was a 2012, and I know the 2013 and on 350s were drastically improved. But the 2012 that I had only had like 50 horsepower or something, and now they have 58, and the 450 has 62. So it's like, you know, that's not much difference. And 58 horsepower is more than like half of the 450s. So that's pretty impressive. I know it has considerably less torque, but I'm sure it's way easier to ride, and obviously it's going to be way lighter than any 450. I mean, it's actually only like 2.5 pounds lighter than the KTM 450, but I mean, it's going to be probably 10 pounds lighter than any other 450, I would think, which is just crazy. So again, I will be looking forward to your comments, and how many of you will be saying, oh, screw it, I'll wait for 2017, or just see what happens? I myself am just going to see what happens and go with the flow. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.